Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the SLO County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 01111
This is Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning.
Tom Papa coming to the Fremont SLO. That's 9:40 today. Know the show, and $100 gift card to Smart and Final.
So earlier this week, they announced no more tax on tips. We talked to a gentleman who was at work at the time. He is a server. He said everybody started celebrating at work. And then I received this text from tax guy Billy, and he's on the line with us right now. Say good morning to everybody, Billy.
Good morning, everybody.
He sends this text. He says, ever since most of the restaurant owners started going to allocated tips reportable on their W-2s, they pay tax at their standard tax rate depending on where they fall. I have no idea what that means. It's kind of like when I sit down across from you once a year and you start asking me questions and I kind of just look at you and I go, that's the same response I had to this text.
I got you.
So what does it mean for California servers or people that have to report tips? This new federal ban or whatever law, bill against no taxing on tips. What does it mean for people in California?
Well, let me clarify real quick. The reason I shot that text off is because when I was listening to the show, there was a question about what they actually pay on their tips now as far as their tax rate.
Right.
And so currently the way it's set up is they pay not only the normal taxes as far as your Social Security and Medicare, but then they also pay income tax at whatever standard tax rate they fall into. The way that the policy or the current policy that's in the Senate right now, if it gets passed, the way that it'll affect everybody is that it will allow them a deduction of up to $25,000 of those tips that will not be taxable to them. As far as California, my experience and professional opinion, knowing how California is that it's not going to change anything for California. California is still going to want those tips taxed at their standard tax rate. I can't imagine that California would conform to something that's fairly extreme as far as
done by the Orange Man.
What's that?
I said the California's not going to go along with something done by the Orange Man for sure.
No, they certainly aren't going to.
So he was under the impression when we talked with him that he, he would get his paychecks, but they would take his taxes for his tips from his paychecks. So his paychecks would be a pittance. So it would be nothing. It would be like $100 when he got his paycheck because they taxed everything out of his paycheck. And now he was under the impression that he would be getting the full pop on his paycheck and his taxes. And his tips as well. That's not how that's going to go?
No, that is how it's going to go.
Okay.
So currently the way it's set up is employees report to their employer what they got in tips, and then the employer has to pay in the Social Security, Medicare, and withholding at whatever withholding rate they have on their total, which includes their hourly plus the tips. But they don't have the actual tip income. The employer doesn't have the tip income to withhold the taxes out of. So they have to take the taxes out of their standard minimum wage rate that they take. That's why, standard minimum wage for a waiter or a server right now is $16.50 in California. So at 40 hours a week, that's what, $660.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the time they take out the taxes for the $660 plus whatever tips were reported or allocated, it does bring their actual paychecks down to probably $100. That's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, and he was saying that he thought he was under the impression because it seemed like the law is going to, the federal no tax on tips is going to make it through. He was under the impression that his paychecks were going to start being $600, $700, and he would also have his taxes.
And he's correct in that assumption. So
okay.
What's going to happen is they're not going to be able to withhold taxes on the tips that are reported to the employer. And so therefore they will get their full paycheck.
Oh,
minus the the Social Security and Medicare on the 660 or whatever.
Okay, so his paychecks are going to be a lot bigger,
Much larger.
much larger. Okay, so that's good. But then you say California is going to keep its take. So how does that come into the fray?
Is that like an income tax thing? Like it's part of the
It is income tax, yeah. So it would be whatever the state taxes. So for states such as Washington that don't have a state tax, they're not going to have a situation like that. But here in California, my assumption, again, professional opinion, is that California is still going to tax those. So the taxes are still going to be reported to the employer from the employee, from the server himself or themselves, and then California will still want to tax those. But that's only California's tax withholding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is going to be a little bit better for servers at the end of the day.
It will be much better for servers at the end of the day, and it will be a little bit better for servers on a week-to-week basis.
Right. And then if you live in a place that doesn't have state sales tax, it's really good.
Exactly. Yeah. State income tax. Yes. It's very good.
So if your server moved to a place like Washington, is what you're saying?
Or Florida,
Tennessee.
Yeah, there's a number of states that we can.
Florida might be a better choice for Californian because, if you're used to sunshine, you don't want to go to Washington if you're used to sunshine.
Yeah, that humidity kills me.
Yeah, I know. It's nowhere is as perfect as California. We just pay for it, right?
We pay a premium to live here for sure.
That's true. Well, Billy's with H&R Block too, and they run he runs all the franchises in San Luis Obispo County. I think we failed to mention that from the jump because we're just all friends and play fantasy football together and sometimes golf. So,
Yeah, soon.
Yeah, soon. We will.
When's the last time you golfed with Jeff, Billy?
God, it's a long time.
I'm asking.
It's been a long time.
Yeah,
but I just invited him to golf the other day.
Yeah, and
he says no.
We're working on it.
I got to go to the water park. Oh, I got a squirrel. I got a French.
See, my kids are older. So I have more time to go play golf.
Billy understands though. He's been there already.
Exactly.
I got to vacuum out my minivan. Soccer mom will be on. All right. See you, Billy. Nice to see you. By the way.
See you guys.
Thanks a lot for the information.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So that's good news. That is good news on that front for people from California. So that is good because I always thought that California is just going to come in and drive a wedge, and be like no.
And they may down the road, but right now, what he's saying is we already get charged income tax in California. That's not going to change. But at least the federal tax you were paying on tips is not going to be the issue.
Yeah.
So that's really good. All right. Well, now we know a little bit, and he has a CPA. So he says. He didn't show me his certificate. Before we got on, I'm like, hey, let me see your degree.
He doesn't need to.
Instead, he showed me his really cool scuba pictures.
Jeff and Jeremy in the Morning podcast brought to you commercial free by another podcast. You've subscribed to ours, now subscribe to theirs. It's the Slow County Real Estate Podcast with Hal Swayze. When you're done with this, go listen to something that will actually enrich your life. California DRE 01111 911.